Alright, so the course is about a combination between lectures and some negotiation simulation, project work with real companies. The main highlights of the course are actually the opportunity to work with real companies and how we can solve their problems. For example, we were working with Soccer and helping them to realize their marketing potential in China. Also, we have a good time with the guest speakers who are very fluent in terms of knowledge when they talk about doing business in China and what kind of innovation China has had recently in terms of marketing, human resource, and how they manage their companies and their subsidiaries in China. When they're talking about their China context, we also discuss phrases like Guanxi's, intermediaries, personal relationships, social harmony, and those phrases are not that unfamiliar to me. Speaking from experience and also my background a little bit, I am a Vietnamese citizen and I have been working, studying, and living in three other countries, Japan, Singapore, and also Vietnam. These countries share a relatively similar culture, but they're still different enough to make themselves distinctive from one another. My point is, a lot of things that we cover in this course are the things that we have heard before, like how social media platforms are a major marketing starting point, but also how China is shifting from a manufacturing stand to being an innovator and also a service provider. But the most important aspect of the course that we cannot ignore is the ever-changing and the paradoxical nature of China, and also the Communist Party of China, and how that can significantly influence one company to mitigate risk or increase its effectiveness by taking advantage of the directives issued by the CPC, but also to realize that what kind of compromises in ethics and also in social standing when they're dealing with the local governments. What we also managed to discuss is how by taking advantage of these issues and these 13 5-year plans, they do carry a very heavy weight in terms of deciding the direction of the economy and how it can influence the shift in strategy and attitude of foreign companies as well as the general public outside and inside China towards the sometimes heavily antagonized CPC with the allegation. However, I wanted to go deeper when I want to discuss today. One of the topic I think are most overlooked is like how complex and how unpredictable the Chinese market and how the whole China context can be. We discussed several things in the class about doing business in China and how much it is very different from our perception, but most of the time we are still going through the same somewhat rigid formula and framework and the key definition and terminologies when we do it with China's. Like, okay, for example, I understand completely that we need to have at least some kind of basic understanding of doing business in China, like intellectual property protection, manufacturing, marketing, human resources, negotiation, and leadership. However, what I would like to see more in this class is how we can use those things and apply in China. And we have a chance to do that by talking to our clients, talking to our projects, and doing the project with their clients, and taking that as an example of how do we take this knowledge and how we can apply that into China and do business in China. The thing is, China is not to be defined by terminologies and definition of frameworks. They should be viewed as an ever-changing object that is very vibrant but also very controversial in what they're doing, and it is a major market. I totally understand that, but we also need to consider the pros and cons of actually doing business in China when we are making so many compromises in order to be involved in that market. Speaking from an ethical side of view and also a business side of view. The second thing that I want to discuss also in this topic is that the live case study with Soccer is very impressive. I really like that. It's quite rare to get an opportunity to work with a company that is openly trying to enter the Chinese market, especially during this kind of tough period. But what we discussed with Soccer and what we've been doing for Soccer for the last 1 month is actually quite complicated because a lot of times we want to discuss with Marcus, and he's from Subsoccer, and he's one of the founder from Subsoccer. Our first impression of what Subsoccer is trying to do and what they think that we should be doing, they don't really correlate with one another, and there's a lot of miscommunication, and the idea of the final offer is sometimes misjudged. And there are still a lot of unknowns when we are working on the project, and we have to make assumptions based on what we know that Subsoccer is doing and what we understand what the Chinese market wants and how to do marketing using social platforms, using those events and convention, using experimentation, like we have discussed several times in class, how we can use experimentation to enter the Chinese market, to establish connections and relationship with the local government, also like with local suppliers and local KOL and influencers. But also because of the limited time, we cannot go that much deeper. But we believe that we provide something for Subsoccer that is coherent with the Chinese market, but still hold true to their values in terms of like their marketing and how they've been working on their project and what the project stands for them. The troublesome things is the difficulties related to moving the products and personnel to China given the COVID scenario, and how it's like there's still a lot of unknowns given the project is still ongoing. All right, so that's it for my video reflection. Thank you for listening.